Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a new show, and it goes like this. Good evening. I think it's going very well so far. Good evening, 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 good evening. I am your host. This is your cameraman. And this is Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore. Most of you have seen the excellent work of SF Debris and the Nostalgic Critic, and even the idea of yet another review show seems derivative and redundant. Here is why this is not the case. Their area is a sort of Room 101, whereas what we're doing, as Stephen Fry and Paul Merton have already put it, is more of a room fluffy. Not necessarily things that are all good. I mean, after all, there are plenty of good Star Trek episodes, and even SF Debris is paused for Animaniacs. However, while this is not a hard and fast rule, what we are doing will mostly be good, or so bad that it is in fact hilarious for the fact. And I'm not limiting myself to any genre or time period, though for the most part, since I don't actually own very many movies, we'll be dealing with serials and television shows, anything from Our Gang to Dexter's Laboratory. Now, the format. As you may have already noticed, this is a sketch show. So, the show will be split off into reviews and riffs. First, we'll do a review of the show, and then we will riff on an episode of it, assuming we can find an episode of it. There are plenty of things that are being taken off the internet, even as I speak, including the show, probably. After hearing about and seeing what little I could find of horrible horror, I decided that John Zacherley's format could definitely do with a bit of dusting off. The idea is that the movie should never stop. We have skits at the beginning and skits at the end, but unlike Mystery Science Theater, we can get away with not actually stopping it. We don't have commercial breaks. By the way, would anybody like to buy a button with a picture of a Dalek on it? So what'll happen is, there'll be a sketch of some sort, or not, if we can't think of anything, and then the episode starts, and we comment on it, or more accurately, at it. And then, another sketch at the end. The thing about Zacherley was, he did not stop the movie. I've already said this a billion times, he did not stop the movie. Sometimes the audio would continue, and it would cut to Zacherley's video doing something strange. Sometimes, most of the time, the audio would dim, and Zacherley would be saying sarcastic things. Much like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but without the shadow puppets. So, if something gets boring, or we think a sight gag is in order, the video will cease, and we'll go over the video of us, but rest assured, the audio will still be of the show. Because probably it's gotten a bit boring, and what the hell, you need some entertainment, like a sword fight, or a railroad scene, or a man wrestling a crocodile for no good reason. It's also why we're not on YouTube, by the way. They frown on the sort of shenanigans as, posting entire episodes of shows. Even if it's not the actual entire episode, it just looks like it. They're not very discriminatory about that. Now, as I've said, we have two main categories of shows that we're doing. Well, three. Shows that are good, shows that are not good, and shows that are really funny, but also bad. Bad in the funny way, you see. Very important. Those tend to be hard and fast categories, unlike the other classification, which is more of a percentage thing. Character-driven, plot-driven, and gimmick-driven. There are very few shows that are both of these. A good show we want to do that's about 2/3 character, 1/3 plot is Daria. A bad show that's funny because of it is Aladdin. That will probably be that's mostly gimmicks, tiny bit of character. We'll discuss that later on. A show that is outright bad, but with funny bits because they realize they're bad, is Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. When they finally throw over the plot and start making fun of the gimmicks, then you get to see how funny the actual characters are. Like Emperor Zurg. We're also going to be definitely doing Freakazoid, Hey Arnold, and Reboot. And plenty of others as well, but we want to leave those loose. We're not sure yet whether or not we want to do any of the others. We also have to work out whether we can get the videos for those. And this brings us to the commercial section. And this brings us to the commercial section. Woo! And this brings us to the commercial section. Cha-ching! And this brings us to the commercial section. $20 will get you a riff episode, and a big sign on the video saying you gave us money. Our main sponsor, Dale K. Fleet Enterprises, www.dalekfleet.com, will throw in 2 different buttons if you make it 25, and a t-shirt if you make it 50. It's just in, we have another sponsor. It's a company that makes some sort of ray you shoot at your cables for when the pins get out of order. Bent. Go out and get bent. Damn kids! Okay, we don't have that sponsor. We are, however, considering other avenues of raising funds for the show and doing new segments for it. For instance, if you send us $100, we will do an Ask the Blank section by buying new props and writing new material for it. With the $100, this will also include a permanent little bit at the bottom saying that you gave us money in the title sequence, as well as possibly a free riff thrown in for the heck of it. So, good evening again. Good evening.